Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, colleagues. It's a pleasure to have you in our 14th WDSC Dubai 2021 Unlocking Hidden Potentials. My name is Mohammad Fteiha. I'm an Associate Professor of Special Education, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Deputy Campus Director in Abu Dhabi University Al-Ain campus. My paper will be highlighting the strategies to enhance the communication skills for children and teenagers with Down syndrome. So this paper is aiming to help families promote speech and language development in young children with Down syndrome. Also, it will clarify the importance of taking into account children's communication challenges when engaging them in a classroom and school activity and when teaching them. And also it will help to give some idea about the linguistic characteristics of children and teenagers with Down syndrome and understanding those characteristics, which will help us to solve a lot of issues related to Down syndrome with the importance of early intervention as a therapeutic approach. And also it will highlight and identify the few principles and strategies to guide parents, teachers, speech therapists in their way of dealing or interacting with children and teenagers with Down syndrome. Before talking about those strategies, I think it's important to highlight the main communication issues in Down syndrome. I'll be highlighting part of these issues to understand how we can support children and teenagers with Down syndrome in an effective and efficient way. As we know that their receptive language is usually better than their expressive language. They have a lot of articulation problem with the specific sound, sounds which reflect on their intelligibility. So they have an issue with their speech intelligibility, in which their speech is not clear for others. Because of that, we are saying that their expressive language is more affected than their receptive language. They have more vocabulary rather than having sentences and grammar and syntax. And they develop nonverbal skills such as gestures, signs, earlier than they develop the communication skills. Also, they are, as I said, they are having some struggles in learning the grammar of their language. Most children with Down syndrome are late in starting to talk. Majority of them, they start talking above 18 months. Approximately 2/3 of children with Down syndrome experiencing hearing loss, and this is an important to take in consideration. Children with Down syndrome, they are having always frequent or recurrent otitis media. So we have to be careful about this issue to avoid any hearing related problem in the future. They have a short-term memory, which helped me as an indicator that I have to work on enhancing their short-term memory and long-term memory while I'm working with them. And they have also an issue with the processing, the time of receiving the information and expressing it. So we have some time to give them proper time to be able to answer our question and comment on those questions. Teenagers and children with Down syndrome, they have a lot of memory issues. And as you know, those memory issues are always related to communication. So it will affect their communication and language in general. Because of their poor working memory, students with Down syndrome have greater difficulties than their peers with processing and retaining spoken words, which affect their expressive language ability and also part of receptive understanding and responding to spoken language, following verbal instructions. Because of that, we are saying we need to support them in a specific areas, which we will talk about in a minute. Learning abstract or unfamiliar vocabulary, somehow it will be difficult because of the memory related issue. Remembering rules or routine, so supporting them with the teaching strategies will reduce the challenges and difficulties that they are having. Developing organizational skills, which is an important skills that kids and teenagers have to have to be able to deal with their environment in efficient and effective way, and remembering sequencing or lists. So we'll try to remember those areas or issues while we are working with children and teenagers with Down syndrome. So if I understand that he's having an issue in following verbal instruction, I have to work on this and make it as a goal, using different strategies to achieve such goal. If I know that a child with Down syndrome is having an issue in organizational skills, so I have to support him and I have to make the environment organized in a way that will make things easier for him, and it will help him to organize things in a better way and understand it in a better way. Sequences, again, it's one of the main area that I can put in my consideration while I'm working with adult and teenage children and teenager with Down syndrome. How Down syndrome affect child learning and communication? Yes, it's important. If I look at the child as holistic, we'll find a lot of issues affecting his learning and communication. The first one is speech and language, which is affected clearly on majority of children and teenagers with Down syndrome. Hearing will affect also the learning process. Because of that, I have to take care of his hearing. They are a visual learner. This is one of the strengths that we need to focus on. When we are saying a visual learner, it means that they benefit from the visual input more than other inputs. They benefit from auditory input, from tactile, from different inputs, but they benefit more from visual input. They have some visual difficulties, which I need to take care of it as teacher and as a parent. They have an issue with their memory. It's a short auditory memory and short attention span, and they have some gross and fine motor difficulties which affect their learning and communication in general. So we have to work on all these issues to solve it and try to support them in their learning journey and in their communication aspects. We have to remember that the way children and adults with Down syndrome speak does not reflect their intellectual abilities. We mentioned that their expressive language is affected more than their receptive language. What skills are needed before learning to communicate or to talk? In each science, there is something we call it a base, or before starting this thing, in which here we call it pre-linguistic skills or pre-communication skills. It is the base of communication. If the child is not having these skills, he will not be able to go to the second stage and proceed with his language development and communication skills. Ability to imitate sound, which start earlier. Visual attention, look at the speaker, look at objects, eye contact is an important aspect. Auditory aspects, auditory skills, listening to language, music for different or for varied period. Those are also an important basic pre-linguistic skills that our kids should have to be able to proceed for the second levels. Cognitive skills is an important one. As a parent, I have to work earlier on this. I'm a person who support the early intervention even before delivery during the pregnancy period. So we empower the parents in a way how they communicate, how they deal with their child when he arrived. So social skills is an important turn taking, a small game, interactive game like peekaboo or rolling a ball back and forth. All these are an important for proceeding or for further skills related to communication. Play skills, starting from just moving the cars. All these are meaningful, or all those playing meaningfully with toys, all are an activities important for enhancing the communication skills from the early stage for our children in general. And you know, our children with Down syndrome, they are having a lot of issues with these areas in which we have to work on it as soon as possible. We mentioned that they are visual learners, so remember, using pictures and important. Nowadays, we have tabs, iPads, we have a lot of apps that help us to use some of these ready-made pictures or even their own pictures to support them. Use sign language whenever sign language is appropriate. Use picture, use any way to enhance the communication of children and teenagers with Down syndrome. Use other strategies that we use, which is an important one, task analysis, breaking down the complex or multi-steps into smaller steps. An example here, how we break down a major goal to a small steps, helping us to achieve that major goal. We need to put in our mind always that generalization is unimportant. The ability of the child to produce the words or to communicate with different people in different settings during different time is an important concept. So we have to work on this as earlier as possible to provide our kids with the chance to be able to use what they learn. And I remember a story that I mentioned maybe several times about a speech therapist who worked on a clinic, and he was swearing that the child is producing some words with him. We told him that we believe you that the child is producing these words, but we don't want him to produce these words with you. We want him to use it outside your room. Because of that, we are saying that special education is not a place. We need our students, our kids, to be included with the community, to be part of our community. If we don't work on generalization from the beginning, maintenance from the beginning, we will be having an issue in the future. Gradually and systematically, withdraw response prompts. We don't want our students to depend on us as a parents or as a teachers or as a therapist. He will not write without my hand being close to his hand. I don't want this. I have to do fading, have to work on the activity step by step to guarantee that no prompt will be there, or at least the natural prompt will be there. Using storytelling is one of the greatest approach that we can use with our individual and teenager with Down syndrome to enhance their communication skill using social stories. It's a great approach by itself. Practice at talking, talk with them. Yes, make it limited to the context, make it limited to their level and their understanding. But we have always to interact with them. We have to support the social interaction, engaging with them, do a simple conversation, reinforce immediately so the child will feel that there is an importance for that. Support inclusion and mainstreaming, not only in the school, in the community in general, as much as you can. It's an important. They are able, they have a lot of strength. They have an area, yes, there's an area of improvement that we need to work on it, but the right place for majority of them is our community. So we have to give them a chance. By the end, they will be a productive citizens, and they will be part of our community. Like a lot of ways to support our children using total communication approach, one of the approaches that we use with Down syndrome and other disorders, provide the visual input. As I said, it's their strength. So I have to utilize this. So provide them with the visual support as much as you can. If you are in the school with the weekly schedule, put the photos or the images with the weekly schedule. If you are at home, use some visual support so they will be able to understand the direction, the things around them, the environment around them, and it will reduce from their frustration, and it will help them to engage with their community. Use sign language. It's a great approach. Previously, we I used when I work in the special needs center, Makaton sign language. It's a great tool to be used. I remember we did, it's not an official study, but we did a study by using picture exchange communication system with as an visual strategies with sign language, and the impact was really great on our students and enhanced their vocalization and verbalization and communication skill. Teach your child signs for meaningful words in their routine: eat, bath, play. Teach them the common objects, people, actions, mama, baba, cookies, cracker, mommy. All these important vocabulary, we should focus on it and teach them. Try to teach them the functional words that they will use. What I mean by functional, the one that they will benefit from it. I don't want just to teach them for the purpose of teaching. I need something that they can use and they can benefit from it. And focus on naturalization. Use it in a natural setting so the child will understand it and use it. I remember previously we were giving our classes in a session, but then later we have joint session with the movement therapist, with the occupational therapist, with the classroom teacher. Those are important. It's better than having the child in a small room without generalizing those goals. Some strategies to help at home or even in the school or in the community: provide the language enriched environment. It's an important in school and home, in the community. I have to enrich the environment with the language. If the environment is poor, so the child will not, even the normal, so there's no normal things, typical child, he will not improve and he will not progress if the environment is not rich with the language. So we have to create this environment with enrich with language and vocabulary. Be highly responsive and less directive. Follow your child leads. It's an important. While he's doing an activity, follow him. And then start interacting with him. This will reflect positively on the child and on the environment in general. Expand your child's initiation with comments and question. Just try to ask him questions, simple question according to his level, and put in your consideration that he is progressing and he is shifting to another level. So introduce the other level for him. Be always positive whenever he is trying to communicate with you, and try to understand something. Try to give him a support to clarify what he is looking for. Make the language real and concrete for the child. Talk about the things happening now in front of you. So this will help him to understand, will not make him confused. Provide models for him to expose the child to those models, and he will be having he will be able to generalize what he's learning from you. Offer lots of everyday opportunities. It's unimportant. We have a long day from morning till evening with a lot of opportunities to create those communication opportunities between me and my child as a teacher or as a speech therapist or as a parents. Provide additional structure activity to explicitly teach language. Teach language in steps that follow the typical pattern in language development. Stop using the baby talk or the baby language, and if he is in an age, it's not appropriate to use this language with him. Utilize visual prompt as much as you can. Teach in small steps. Remember the task analysis strategy. If it is difficult for him to manage this, give him a small task and he will be able to do it. With the reinforcer, he will be even doing the whole step and he will achieve the goal. Encourage success simply. Reinforcement, encouragement, it's a great tool for success. Another important topic that I need to highlight here is the communication temptation. It's our responsibility as parents, teachers, speech therapists, individual working with children and teenagers to create these moments of communication. It will reflect positively in our kids. It will increase student desire to communicate. It will make communication fun for them. I don't want them to feel that it's a demand. It's a fun rather than a demand. Establish a power of communication. I need to communicate. There is a need. Don't give everything. Allow for a chance to ask or to communicate. Keep things away. If you want to give him a biscuit, put it in a jar and close it. Let him request for that. He will feel the importance of that. Increase spontaneous use of language. Bring speech under control and appropriate environmental stimuli. It's an important to focus on such aspects which will help us and help our kids to improve and enhance their communication skills. Remember to focus on the strength. Yes, we will work on areas of improvement, but we need also to maintain his strength and encourage him more and more, identify his interests, be specific and concrete in teaching. Naturalization, again, naturalization is an important visual support and visual schedule. I know previously it was an issue when we have to print and to laminate and a lot of stuff and work I have to do, but now it's available on the with those technologies that we are having. Utilize unexpected opportunities. If there is something happen, try to benefit from that immediately on the spot. Give the appropriate, the right modeling. Expand and extending child's language. And again, as I mentioned, it's an important. He will not stuck with one level. He will move and progress to another level, providing choices 3 or 4 or 5 times. It's an important. And by this way, you will teach him to differentiate, to discriminate, to know the objects and the concept in a right and proper way. Enjoy him in a two-way interaction, because he needs to understand that there is a turn taking, there is a conversation between two persons and more, which is an important one. So some of those activities, give him a choice. It's an important, but the main thing is to add to it enjoyment and happiness. It's an important. If the child feel that it's a demanding, and we love him because he talk, he will not talk. He should talk because he need to talk. Use a lot of those strategies. I'll mention some of them. Something missing. Put the food, don't put the spoon. Give him the pencil broken and see what he will do. Give him I will say give him a paper without a pencil, maybe. Give him a plate without a spoon. So try to find a way that he will ask for it. And I remember one of the activities that one of the center did when I was in Saudi Arabia. During the snack time, they removed all the lunch books from the bags of the students, and they look at them, what they will do, what's their behavior. Each one of them having different behavior. Some of them said food, some of them start screaming, some of them they throw the bag on the floor. From that, they start putting a goal for them, how they can improve their communication, out of reach, put things out of his reach of his hand. So he will ask for this. Encourage the turn-taking skill. It's an important to work on such. And remember always, communication need to occur throughout the child's world. It's not a place, it's not in a clinic, it's not in a school only. Communication and language cannot be taught through a set of isolated exercise. Say this word, produce this word. No, it will not work like this. It should be natural as much as we can. It should be spontaneous as much as we can. Communication opportunities is the key. Always, it's not a race. Slow down, wait, and show. Give him a chance to express his needs, his thoughts, and reinforce him immediately. Active participation is essential during joint activities. communication learning will often be through doing first, then understanding. Learning by doing is an important. So the opportunities, communication temptations is one of those keys that we can create and enhance our children and teenagers with Down syndrome, enhance their communication skills and make them an effective members in their families and community. Thank you for listening. Those are just highlights about enhancing communication skills for children and teenagers with Down syndrome. I hope you enjoyed the paper. If there's any question, I'm ready for to answer those. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum.